By the end of this lesson, you will be able to select a subject with just a click. You should be able to save and load selections in Photoshop. You should be able to separate your subject from your background. So without wasting much time, let's begin this lesson. Hello everyone, my name is Nana Kobia and you can find me on Bystander Photoshop. In this video, I'm going to show you how to blur a background in Photoshop. So first of all, we have to duplicate our background layer over here by hitting Ctrl or Command J twice or 2 times to make a copy of our background layer over here. So let's hide our background layer and we are going to make use of these 2 layers. Alright, let's name this, double click on the text and name it BG, meaning background layer. And double click on this and name it model and hit enter. Our first goal here is to separate our subject from the background so that we can blur the background alone, leaving our subject. Alright, so now let's hide the first layer, which is the model, and then make sure your background layer is selected. Let's go all the way up to the menu bar, go to select and then subject. Alright, Photoshop will do a pretty good job by selecting around your subject, but it might not be perfect, so we need to make some adjustments. So right now let's go ahead and click on our quick selection tool, and then you can increase the size of your brush by hitting the close curly bracket. So right now with this selection, I'm gonna speed up. Right now we have our selection for our subject, and then we need to do one thing before we separate our subject from the background. Let's go all the way up to select, modify, expand, and then let's expand this to 3 pixels as we have over here. Hit OK, and as we can see, our selection is being separated from our subject within 3 pixels. Now let's go up to edit, fill, and then make sure your contents, you select content aware for your content. Make sure opacity is 100% and then click OK. Alright, so right now our subject is gone, and then we have our selection still being active. So now, since we have our selection being active and then we are going to make use of our selection in the near future, we need to save our selection. So right now let's go ahead and click on select and then save selection, and then we name our selection before we save it. So right now let's name it selection 1 and hit OK. So right now hit Ctrl or Command D to take away your selection, and this is our background layer. So we have our model layer here, and then we have our background layer there. Alright, so right now our selection is gone. How are we going to make a selection for our model again? Let's go back to select, load selection, and then within the channel panel, let's click on this drop down menu and select selection 1, which is the name that we're giving to our selection, and hit OK. We have our selection back again. Alright, so right now we are focusing on the model layer, so make sure your model layer is selected. We have our background alone and we need to have our subject to alone. Alright, so right now let's go ahead and click on layer mask icon over here, and then let's hide our background layer. So as we can see, we have our model layer alone, and when we hide it, we have our background layer alone. So let's bring back our subject or our model layer, and this is what we are having now. On and off, on, off, on, off. So right now we have to blur the background, or our focus is to blur the background. So now we move on to that one. So in order to blur the background, we go up to filter, blur gallery, and then tilt shift. Alright, so with the tilt shift, you place your cursor in the middle here where we have our dot, and then you move it all the way down to this area. Now we want the focus to be on the ground where our model is standing, and then you can also increase this a little bit. So this is the amount of blur that you want to apply on your picture. So if you want to increase the amount of blur, you can move this slide bar along as you want, but I think 15 pixels or 20 will be okay for me. So in this case, I will maintain it at 20 pixels for our blur. So now let's hit OK, and then you can see that we have our changes being applied over here. So right now when we zoom in, we can see that around the edges of our subject there are some places where blur wasn't applied. This is because of the expansion that we made when we made a selection for our subject. Let's go back to the model layer and then make sure that your layer mask thumbnail is selected. So when it's selected, you see this white rectangular object around it, and then press and hold your Control or Command key and then click on it, and you have your selection back again. Alright, since we expanded those areas, that is why we are having that kind of effect. So we need to take it out. Let's go all the way up to select, modify, and in this case we are not going to expand anymore, we are going to contrast. So when we expanded the selection, we made it 3 pixels, and when we want to contrast to, we need to make it 3 pixels. Type 3 and then click on enter. Alright, still it's not gone, we are not done yet, but we need to take it off as well. Alright, so right now what we need to do is press and hold Control or Command and then the Shift key plus I to invert your selection. We have inverted our selection, and then let's hit Shift F5 to bring back your fill dialog. So right now let's select black instead of content aware and then hit OK. So now we have those areas being vanished. So right now hit Control Command D, and you can see that you don't have any excess disturbances over there. So right now this is how we blur the background. Let's group this one, select this one, press Control to select this one in addition, and then press and hold the Shift key and then click on the folder icon to group your layers. So when you click on the drop down, you still have your layers under the group. So now let's bring back our background layer, and then before, after, before, after, before, after. So this is how we blur the background. This is very nice and pretty cool. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please make sure to subscribe, share and like my videos for me, and then we are going to provide you with more content. Alright, stay safe. Goodbye.